Good evening, Assalamualaikum. Welcome back. Good to see you guys again.
Evening.
And today we are going to start with our third part, which is related to other remaining 7 tasks for the people domain. So yeah, let's begin our journey. Okay. So till yesterday we finished 7 tasks. Now today we are doing task number 8, negotiate project agreement. To achieve this task, what enablers we have that you need to understand and analyze the bounds of the negotiation for agreement, that what you can negotiate. For example, if I'm going for an IT software, you can say, then I need to understand what are the possibilities on which I will negotiate. If the customer is asking for a feature, so I have to provide him or her the feature based upon mobile applications or web-based applications, or a typical feature which is only applicable by a special device, it will increase the cost or not. So you need to clearly understand the stakeholder requirement, whether you are in project uh, approach of predictive one, even if you are in adaptive approach as a product owner or as a project manager, you need to understand what you are going to discuss, what you are going to negotiate for it. So you need to analyze the bounds of the negotiation for agreement, assess priorities, and determine ultimate objectives. If the customer says that my objective is to use the softwares or to use the product by sitting on my device, I don't need to open the laptops, or my customers can access the features via mobile devices. So for sure, when he's discussing about mobile devices, so we need to understand that he's trying to reach to the digital economy, and we have to facilitate the customer to provide the benefits related to the digital economy. Maybe the customer knows about it or not. At least it's my responsibility as a project manager to inform them that, look, there are features available. The people who have predictive background, they do not understand this concept, that why should we ask extra work? We are not asking extra work. We are guiding our customers. We are guiding our stakeholders that, look, there are the possibilities which can increase the business value of your objectives for your project. So we, as a project manager, have to guide them ultimately. So you have to understand that what are the things. And for priorities, you need to understand that you will discuss first for the infrastructure, then second for the softwares itself, then third for the feature, and so on. If you are going in the predictive project management, then you have to discuss about if it is related to construction. So what will be at your site, what will be at my site, how the changes will happen, if the work is stopped because of you, if the work is stopped because of you guys for approvals or sponsors could not pay the money on time, and if there are changes which are not agreed, how will you pursue them? So you need to understand the ultimate objectives of the project. Once done, it's not like I presume by myself that I knew that, so I kept it by myself. No, you have to verify it also. You have to keep verifying during the meetings, status meetings, progress meetings, and also at the end of the project, that the purpose of the project agreement is met. Project agreements, normally what we call it, charter. So these things are happening at the time of agreements. And we discuss in the procurement chapter that what's the difference between agreements and contracts. Agreements are more like verbal things, and contracts are legal bindings. So you can say that they are discussing, as a project manager, you are here, your team is here, and your external stakeholders are here, and you are discussing upon charter that what can be the possibilities, we can make it better, what we can do. So ultimately, we can improve the project objectives. And ultimately, when we are discussing, we have to participate in agreement negotiations also, because procurement guys, sometimes they are not technical, so they need your support. For example, let's have at least an example which went through from my eyesight, that they had a team of the project management for the construction. They were constructing a facility, and ultimately to provide the infrastructure, they consulted IT, but they did not obey the IT. Ultimately, what happens? They had to go a lot of changes. Why? Because IT was not involved, and IT was not involved because uh, they were sitting in their offices. And as I told you, as a project manager, you should not stop yourself going to them. If they are not coming to you, you have to go to them that, guys, there is a project related to you. Tell me what you are going to do it. So you have to discuss those things with those people. So you need to understand actually what we are going towards now, towards the stakeholder, that we need to understand who are our stakeholders and how to engage them in the project. And once we know how to engage them based upon your behavior, we have to discuss the negotiation strategy, that how much time they can afford, what is their risk management capacity, that they averse, they don't want to take any risk, neutrals, they want to take the positive risk, or seekers, they want to pursue the goals. Like, for example, there was an situation in the slides that you are going to discuss the blackout time. Blackout time means for how much time your servers will be offline, for how much time your plant will not be working or not producing the oil or water. So you have to discuss 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, what will be the consequences if you are laying the railway track. So after laying the railway track, how much time you have to wait before you can pass the train carriages upon it. So those things you have to discuss and negotiate as a project manager. You will not keep call. In majority of our situations, what happened, the project manager sitting quietly, people, he or she believes that people will come and tell him or her the requirement. But it's not going to happen. You have to reach to them. You have to identify them who they are. And ultimately, you have to guide them, negotiate with them. So everyone is in the clear picture. You will not have surprises. Oh, this was not discussed. No, we don't want to do that type of thing, that you are having surprises all the time. So in exams, you will get the questions that customer is agreeing for something which was not defined in charter. Okay, changes are good. We need to go for it. But the governance allowed us to do that. We have to check the scope statement. Was it in exclusion or not in exclusion? Because if I told you, remember, in scope statement, project scope statement, it should contain product breakdown structure, product scope, project scope. It should also contain what? Exclusion criteria and acceptance criteria. So was it a part of exclusion criteria or not? Then how to negotiate for it? All these things as a project manager, you have to find out. Customer comes to you that I need to add this thing. We can negotiate for those things. Yeah, we have to negotiate for the time, cost, resources, quality, and everything. So ultimately, you can deliver the right product at right time. So you have to negotiate project agreements when you are working as a project manager. And in all the tasks, you have to be the proactive guy who himself or herself guiding the stakeholders for the required negotiations. Task 9, as I said, we are going towards stakeholders to collaborate with the stakeholders. Evaluate engagement needs for the stakeholders, which means we are discussing about stakeholder engagement plan. And we said, who is a stakeholder? Anyone who is being impacted by the project or will be impacted by the project or its outcome. And based upon that, we did some exercises also like power, interest, grid, or it could be, if it is 3-dimension power, interest, influence, cube. We also did salience model. We were categorizing the people based upon what? Urgency, legitimacy, and power. There were 3 triangles: power, urgency, and legitimacy. So based upon those techniques, we need to understand who have which type of power, who is more important, who is not important, whom I need to keep informed. If you remember, there was a grid like this. This needs to be informed, keep engaged, keep informed. They are high power but low interest. And this is what sponsored. We need to keep them engaged all the time. So you need to understand who are your stakeholders, what are their engagements related to what, their internal or external, their compliance level, or they are the regulatory, or they are the government, what type of powers they have. Then optimize alignment between stakeholder needs and expectations and project objectives. If I have 10 people sitting in the meeting of a stakeholder, it's quite possible that all of us might have a different objectives. So as per the previous task, as a project manager, you have to be a better facilitator so you can help them to reach the consensus. And to reach the consensus, you can use sometimes Delphi technique, if you remember, or you can use wide band Delphi if the experts are available physically at one location. Here, experts are not available in one location. So with those help, you can get the consensus among the stakeholders. You can understand their needs and expectations. And when we understand their needs and expectations, what we do, we create the stakeholder register, which contains their name, contact information, roles in the project, their needs, their expectations, their classifications, their unaware, resistant, supportive, leading, or neutral. Based upon that, we align the project objectives, that whom we need to engage, how. All the time you have to show the leadership skills and also the, or I can say in one thing, power skills. So you have to apply your power skills so you can engage the stakeholders based upon that. And to reduce the conflict, we discussed one document yesterday called as ground rules. We can establish the ground rules so all the stakeholders can stick to the plan. They should not go and find another conflict between each other. So to collaborate with the stakeholders, first you need to understand who are they. You need to understand their possibilities. You need to understand their classifications. You need to understand their needs and expectations. And ultimately, you have to align project objectives, your organization objective, and other stakeholder objectives and gain the consensus among them. So there will be a question in exam that some stakeholders are having different objectives. What do you have to do? What document you can refer? For sure, the charter. If the question says that they are out of your reach and you cannot do anything, so what we said, if you cannot do anything, escalate. And if they are external stakeholders, you will escalate to the sponsor that I tried, they are not understanding, please, you discuss them. You can escalate to the sponsor, or you can ask those stakeholders, please go to sponsor. If the sponsor will allow me, I will do this thing. So sponsor is the final decision maker. If they allow, I have no problem with that. So that's how you have to always act. And again, if you remember in my all the lectures, I always tell you in the Saturdays thing, in the Saturday question solving sessions, that direct action will never be the correct answer, right? You will divert the people that go to sponsor. If it is related to a resources, you will solve it by yourself. If it is related to something, so you have to understand, analyze, and realize those things accordingly. Similar to that, if I go to the next task, which is task number 10, build share understandings, which is what our kickoff meeting. And we have kickoff meetings at different intervals whenever we are starting the project, whenever we are starting the phase of the project. In predictive, it could be after every phase. In iterative, it could be after retrospect, right? We have iteration planning meeting where we discuss what we will do in the upcoming iterations. So in iteration planning, what we are doing, we are trying to reach to the shared understanding between product owner, between project manager, between stakeholders. Ultimately, you can understand what is going to happen. If there are situations, breakdown situations to identify the root cause of a misunderstanding. I cannot understand you, I cannot understand you. So you can take the help of storyboarding. What is storyboarding? You can coach the team, guide the team to use storyboarding, which means you can use wireframes to clarify the requirements, low fidelity, high fidelity, or prototype. And once they have the clear dimensions, so you can actually survey all necessary parties, all relevant stakeholders to reach the consensus with the help of Delphi technique or with the help of decision-making techniques, which we discussed, like anonymous, majority, plurality, autocratic, fist of five, sidewards, Roman votings. And once they have the agreement, all agree on the same point, then follow those things and keep investigating potential misunderstanding. Like if one of the stakeholder is saying, I need a feature like this, another one is saying, I need similar feature like this. Now this similar is what? Ambiguity, right? This similar is what? Ambiguity. So you have to clearly verify the requirement by doing storyboarding, wireframing, or prototype. So as a project manager, you need to understand these concepts, that if someone is not agreeing, someone is not coming on the point, and you made something, which means your team made something. If you are working in iterative, and they are demonstrating in the review meeting. Now, product owner is shocked that what they are providing and what I ask is different. It means maybe the team did not understand the correct definition of done, or maybe the product owner could not bring the definition of done in an accurate time, or the acceptance criteria was not defined properly in requirement traceability matrix, which we use in our predictive project management, which is like on the left side, we have objectives. On the right side, what we have? Test cases. So it means there is a common misperception, or the things were not shared, or they had different understanding. So requirement traceability matrix or definition of done or acceptance criteria should always be evaluated. And if there are potential misunderstanding, it means there is a problem in the process. That someone is telling something, other person is not understanding something. So before understanding, like today, I was explaining this thing into my office called as Pokayuk. Pokayuk is a technique for, it's not related to your PMP, but I'm just telling you. Pokayuk is a quality technique, which means that if there is a problem in the system, stop the process, stop all the processes, fix the error, then start. Because if you will keep doing it and one side is keep lacking, whatever efforts you are doing, they will go for waste. This is the concept of Six Sigma. So ultimately, if you continuously have these problems that many change requests are coming, there was a question in exam also that many change requests are coming, every stakeholder is coming with a different objectives. And as a project manager, what you will do? So the correct answer was you will stop the project and invite the stakeholders to renegotiate the scope. Why these changes are coming? What was the problem? This is what investigate potential misunderstanding. If you are working predictive, you as a project manager will call a meeting for those stakeholders or for all the relevant stakeholders. What's the problem? Why the scope keeps changing all the time? Why you guys are not considering one thing so we can produce the results as required? Or if you are working in predictive, so you have to invite product owner that whatever you are coming, every time you are changing the scope, it's destroying my team's morale also. So we need to fix the criteria, what they really want, so we can provide them accordingly. So we have to get the built shared understanding task with the help of tools and techniques, so we can make the life easier for our team in both ways, whether iterative, whether predictive. And ultimately, once we have shared agreements, then we have to keep them engaged. It's not one-time effort, because 90% of the time of project manager should be spent in communication. So you as a project manager, keep communicating and keep interacting with the stakeholders. Based upon the virtual team members, we need to provide the co-working space. What is co-working space? Like we have Zoom, we have Google, we have Microsoft Teams, we have Skype for Business. These type of tools we need to have, so all the team, regardless of their location, can work together as a team and they can finish their task. When they are doing the thing, it's a part of the process one, but just on the lighter note, we have something called as configuration management system, which we discussed on first day also, that all these shared portals should have configuration management system enabled. So all the changes which are coming through, or all the work what they are doing, they can be recorded with the date and time stamp also. So everything is recorded, what it was, when it was updated, why it was updated. All the information can be tracked. When the teams are available, so you have to keep checking alternatives, the communication tools. So it could be physical co-location, or it could be virtual co-location where the teams can work, or it could be the hybrid environment where some of the team members are physical, some are virtual, but they all have to work together as a single team. So you have to find out, and again, you have to establish what? You have to establish the ground rules, that this is the time, and you have to find a suitable time, that if one person is in USA, one person is in Australia, so their time zones are different. So we need to arrange a time that which is better for all of them, and ultimately they can work together. And for that, you have to set a ground rule also, that what will be the language we will be using for the communications. So all will have the same language. What type of expected behaviors we have to establish the KPIs also, that even if you're working virtual, your performances will be measured. So implement options for virtual team member engagement based upon KPIs, based upon the shared portals, and continually evaluate effectiveness of virtual team member engagement. That the tasks they have been given, are they doing it on the right time or not, or they are delaying the task. If they are delaying the task, we have to ask them that, because as a project manager, I am a facilitator. So I have to ask them, what's the problem? Why you could not do that task? It's because of training, it's because of the understanding, it's because of the gap in communication. So we have to remove that communication gap. When it says communication gap, it means in next task, I have to understand and define the ground rules based upon the communication management plan. What is communication management plan? Who needs what information, how, when, with which format, which technology, which frequency, which for portal, and so on. So you have to use your communication management plan, and you have to establish the ground rules to work with this communication management plan. And you have to keep updating the ground rules. Like there are some things, like when if you remember, when we started doing the online meetings first time, especially in the COVID time, so sometimes by mistake someone mics were enabled. So then people started requesting this feature from Microsoft, that guys, please provide the admin, that at least admin can mute the mic for all the participants. This feature was only available in Zoom. So later on, Microsoft also deployed this feature. So if you have this type of situation, you can keep checking any alternatives, or you can keep checking the functions or applications which can provide you the better working environments. So keep updating the ground rules based upon the requirements. If they are facing any trouble, so keep solving their problem, which means removing impediments, obstacles, and blockers, so they can always keep working. Like, I don't have internet, my laptop is slow, my laptop does not support this software, and so on. So you need to provide or facilitate the team so they can work accordingly. And as a project manager in any environment you are working, mentoring is your first task. The main task of the project manager is what? Related to coaching and mentoring. Coaching means guiding. Mentoring means kind of counseling that related to work, related to the persons. So mentor them. They are your team member. So you have to motivate them, you have to mentor them. Because like I was reading about a certification today of discipline agile coach, that it was when the people go for transformation journey, so they are like this, they are very happy. First problem is they should agree for the change. Once they agree for the change, they start doing it, and ultimately something becomes distracted, and then because of those misunderstandings, it becomes the havoc, turmoil, that people are not understanding what is going on. And at this is the point where the team needs motivation, that no problem, we are making the change, and especially when it's uncertain. So you have to coach them, mentor them, that no problem, it's a very normal behavior when you are going to do something new. So instead of going disheartened or discomfort, you have to coach them and mentor them so they can come back to the growth level and maturity level. So ultimately, people will feel connected, and they will know that there is someone who is behind us. So ultimately, keep getting. If you feel that team morale is going down, you have to motivate them, mentor them, so they can always correlate their task with the person also. So their task can become more easy, because we have a lot of problems. Everyone have a lot of problems, and you as a project manager are their guide. If you will not support them, so where they will look? If they will demotivate it, so ultimately your project will be delayed. So you need to think proactively, and by using your leadership skills or power skills, you have to continuously mentor them. So team will have trust on you, and ultimately they use a question or word in the question, that you will get buy-in from the team, or buy-in means getting the support from the team. They will always support you in all the situations because you are leader for them. And once they are doing them, so promote team performance through application of emotional intelligence, which means keep continuing the monitoring. And for emotional intelligence, we have what's social awareness, right? And social management, self-awareness, and self-management and empathy, where we have this sentiment thing that put yourself in someone else's shoes, then you will understand what they are going through. Ultimately, you will be able to mentor them as per the situations. You have to treat them on equities, not on equalities. So you cannot treat the members like if there is a question coming exam that you are rewarding everyone as same. Is it a correct approach? No, we cannot go on equality. We have to go with equities. So everyone feel connected, everyone feel rewarded based upon his or her dedications, performances. It's not like someone is doing low performance, he's rewarding the same. Like I can say there is 10% increment for everyone. So everyone means those who performed well, they didn't get anything, or those who did not perform well, they get everything. So it cannot be based upon equality. It has to be based upon equities. So you have to reward and recognize the efforts. And those things, how you will reward them and recognize them, will be mentioned or were mentioned in a document called as resource management plan, where you have already listed that how the resources will be rewarded and recognized. So that was the agile part or people part of the project management exam domain. From tomorrow, we will have the process-based approach, which is 50% of the exam. So we will start our same process and flow chart also from tomorrow, inshallah. So let's keep it here. If you have any questions, you can ask now. If there are no questions, then inshallah, see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining.